So, a conservative friend of mine gave me a call, and he says, "Well, looks like you did it. You and you damn liberals. You took NASCAR from me. You took football away from me a couple years ago. By the way, this guy plays in fantasy football leagues with me and my friends. Like, he hasn't quit. But he went on to tell me that NASCAR has banned the Confederate flag, and that is a bridge too far. And he's done. He can't be a part of NASCAR anymore. Said it was this institutional event in his family's together time. They'd all, head over to his dad's. They'd barbecue. They'd watch the race, and that's how you know they were able to spend time together. Talk about when he was a kid that his dad grew him up watching NASCAR and football, and all that's gone now. He says. So I told him. I said, well, um, this is a little bit more than just recent events. I said, well, this happened. They wanted to do this back in 2015 after the Dylan Roof shootings. He said maybe. He said, but no, this is part of the Black Lives Matter thing. He said, what are you guys going to do next? Defund the police? You going to ruin that institution as well? I said, well, let me ask you a question. How do you think NASCAR started? And he says, well, started from, in the South, a bunch of good old boys souping up their cars, and they'd bet on who was faster. And whoever was the fastest gained the pot. I said, well, you're close. I said, but you missed out something there. I said, actually, how it started was moonshiners. People selling shine. Um, Due to prohibition, and even after prohibition, these guys would load up a bunch of shine in their cars, and they would go pretty much, location to location, selling moonshine. They had to have fast cars because they had to outrun the T-men, the feds, because they weren't paying taxes. So they had to have vehicles that could go faster than the feds and faster than the local police. And so they would take all this time to put energy and upgrades into their vehicles so they could outrun the cops at any point in time. And that is how NASCAR started. And I asked him, I said, well, do you know why they were so adamant in not paying taxes? And he says, well, I mean, I guess who wants to pay extra money? I said, well, interesting enough, a lot of these guys actually had community programs, essentially. They would, get together and buy food for poor people. They'd donate money to the church. So it wasn't about money for them. What it was they didn't want to fund an authoritarian group who would then have dominion over them. They didn't want to fund the police. They liked the fact that they had vehicles that could outrun the cops. They could get away from them anytime they wanted. They didn't want the feds and the police to be able to control them. And that is exactly why. And so when you think about it, NASCAR, the origin of NASCAR, the good old boys, they're the OGs on defunding the police. This just became an idea a couple weeks ago on the left. And I want to be clear on this. I'm not exactly for it. I'm for the conversation. I think it's important to have that conversation. It depends on what level you're talking about. There's people who say defund the police, and they literally mean like defund all policing, which that sounds like an awful idea. Because really, what is policing? It is upholding laws. But we need law and order. I mean, as much of a progressive as I am, law and order is one of the cornerstones of a civilized society. You can't just do away with that. But the other side of it hey, defund the police actually means reallocate certain funds. Have more of like community outreach programs. You have people who deal with mental illness instead of the cops dealing with mentally ill people. Okay, yeah, that I think we should talk about. I think there's room for growth there. But I just thought it was really funny that a friend of mine or a person I know finds NASCAR so instrumental in his life and is so passionate about it, yet didn't realize that for the most part it was funded on ideology that he is now repulsed by. Anyway, you guys have a good evening.